Tobin, Tobin, Tobin.
Tobin. Tobes.
Tobin.
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 Hey, Tobin.
Tobin.
Tobin Heath.
Hey, it's me. Okay, let's see if I make it through.
Take number 978. I keep getting emotional.
Dear Tobes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations for an amazing career.
As a player, you were magical.
You were always a wizard with the ball and a fierce competitor.
You brought passion, energy, creativity.
With every touch, every nutmeg, every daring run, you reminded us that football is both art and battle.
You were an artist, buddy, and you were one of one. You've truly left the game better.
I can't even imagine my career without you. You were my encouragement when my confidence was shook.
I'll never forget when I scored my first year's women's national goal before the Olympics, and you were on your knees trying to make me win the World Cup.
You literally loved football so much, and you invested yourself into my game. I don't really know if I would be the same player or person today if you hadn't come into my life.
You changed our team for the better. And the way that I watch our women's national team play, it doesn't look like the game that I knew. It looks like the game that you created.
I've missed you so much and will continue to miss Tobin Heath from the field. The game isn't the same when losing such a creative, enjoyable player to watch.
I will miss training with you, playing with you, watching you on the field during my small stint as a WAG.
I'm sad because I know that there is never going to be another Tobin Heath, but I'm also so grateful that I grew up being able to watch you.
Thank you for everything you have given this game, the fans, and to all of your teammates.
Thank you so much for being such a great teammate.
Thank you for believing in me with all of your heart and soul.
Thank you for the show, man.
Thanks so much for your service. It's been so fun watching, and you changed the game for the better.
With pride and gratitude, honored to work with you. All the best, Tobin, and thank you.
I love you so much and thank you for everything. I thought I would make it through.
I look forward to the many, many adventures ahead.
I wish you all the best.
I wish you the very best of luck.
I'm so proud of you and so excited to see what you do next. Congrats on an incredible career, Tobin.
Great job, Tobin. I love you. Congratulations. I want to be just like Aunt Tobin. I love you.
And Tobin Heath will never play soccer again.
It's the saddest beginning I've ever heard. I would have been.
Whose idea was that to start the episode
I
like
would
that?
have at least like to say, "Welcome back! What an honor to be here."
This is definitely not getting edited. This is definitely that intro video that they do to tease the episode. I can feel it already.
That's because you have the eye of an artist.
Okay.
I'm just trying to be in my body because I do think it's an important episode. And I think that it's really special that we created this space and created this opportunity that you get to tell your story your own way. And that we have a team of people here that are all supportive of you. And you get to make this whatever it is. It's like something that most athletes don't get. And there's something to celebrate in that and to be grateful for. And I'm just grateful that I get to look at you and hold this space for you in what I know is a really, really hard moment for you.
Maybe you can talk about how this episode came to be.
Yeah.
How we got to this place of vulnerability.
Yeah. So a few months ago, you asked me to talk to all of our friends and family, and if they might be able to remind you what you were like as a player. A few months ago, you said to me that you couldn't remember and that you wanted your friends and your family to help remind you what you were like as a player because it's such an important part of you. And I actually at the time didn't understand really what you meant, because it's sort of like when you see something grow every day, you don't realize how much it's changed. And actually, the 2015, Tobin knows this because I've said this 100 times, but the 2015 World Cup final came in at the Angel City training facility because we have a channel that just plays women's soccer classics. It's brilliant. And I saw you playing 10 years ago. So you look 10 years younger. And I burst into tears at the training facility and I had to leave because in that moment, I understood what you meant when you said, I don't remember what I was like, because in that moment, I saw a different version of you or a different part of you that I then realized I hadn't seen in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a weird thing, like not remembering, like, and wanting to be reminded, because like you want to like, you want to be able to remember. And I think I had like a few more mountains I wanted to climb with football, even though, I mean, I'm really grateful for the career that I had. Actually, it's funny because like I get the question all the time, like, so like, are you coming back? And I'm kind of like, well, the writing's on the wall, you know? And I always thought I could just kind of like just stop playing. Like it wasn't, I never played for other people. Like I really appreciate fans. They're amazing. I appreciate that they love my craft. But like that's not why I played soccer, and like I never played to be famous or for people to care about me. Like I just played because I loved it. And then also, you know, we have the Players Ball coming up, and they said, oh, we're honoring a bunch of retired players. Like we'd really like to honor you. And I just kind of was like, sure, whatever. And I hadn't really thought about the fact that I hadn't even like honored myself yet in the process. And over New Year's, like I actually came to the full acceptance that I wasn't going to be playing, which was like a 2-year, some might say 3-year process of acceptance. And it was like a really beautiful, like personal experience for like me, for you, for the people closest to me that I shared it with, to come to that moment. And I felt like that was kind of like my own personal ending to it. But I realized that there's like, it's one thing like saying something, you know, just to you and sharing like a really special moment, but it's another thing like saying it out loud here on the recap show and having it go out to the rest of the world. And that's where we're at. And it feels really special to have this space to be able to share or to celebrate kind of, everything. Anyways, this is so sad and soppy.
Well, when you have an amazing career and you mean a lot to a lot of people, although you wanted to go silently into that good night, it's not how it works.
Yeah.
People notice. Will you do us the honor of sharing the moment that you deposited your gift back into the earth?
Yeah, so it actually happened. We were traveling and we were in Mexico on a surf retreat, and one of the surf instructors and a friend of ours was like, let's do this like ceremony to like honor the Gemini full moon. And I was like, oh, sick, it's a Gemini full moon, I'm a Gemini.
Deep.
Really deep. I really connected with that moon. And so it was really funny because basically we did this ceremony where we dug our own graves into the sand, into like the wet sand. And this was while the sun was setting. And it was like a really amazing experience. I really recommend this. And I don't know if this is a real thing or if we made it up, but we basically had to dig our own graves, like, which is in a way kind of twisted because it's, you don't do that when you die. You don't dig your own grave. So it was strange. So you dig, and it was physically laborsome. Like, wet sand is heavy. And so after you dig your own grave, then you lay in it, and then somebody puts all of the earth or all of the sand back on top of you. And the sand is like wet. It is really heavy, and you can barely breathe. And it's amazing. You just feel like the weight of the world is on top of you. And the idea was to basically deposit something back into the earth, and then you can come out and, be reborn in some way. So I had no idea what I was going to do. But then as the weight of like the earth was on top of me, and I felt like the universe had kind of just like surrounded me in the moment, and probably like because I was pinned down, that's the only way feelings would get to me is like by being physically pinned down to the earth. And, I had this like very spiritual moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Like I'm gonna like deposit my gift of playing soccer back into the earth. And the idea is that like by depositing it into the earth, like something else will grow from it, and like you'll
This is really good.
You'll you'll create space for new things. So like for like 2 years, I'd really held on to it. And like I tried everything to get back. Like I spent tens of thousands of dollars and like 2 surgeries, 1 crazy surgery, and the whole time I believed I was going to get back. And yeah, the writing was definitely on the wall, and and I just couldn't accept, I think, that was like my ending. And it wasn't even this idea, at some point I think I had accepted I was never going to return to being a professional athlete, but I never thought the idea would ever happen that I literally couldn't play football for the rest of my life. Just throw the ball around with Bob, Bob
you
can't throw
the ball around with Bob a lot.
I do. But it's tough.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I had this spiritual moment, and I gave my gift of playing soccer back to the universe, back to God, because it truly was a gift. And I hope something incredible grows from that kind of release back into the earth. And then I basically came out of the grave. I'm reborn. I'm Lazarus. And you then run into the ocean and the sun's setting. And the funny part is Christen obviously was doing this as well. So she had dug herself next to me, in typical Christen and Tobin fashion. What did you do on your holiday? Oh, we buried ourselves alive. and then so we both at some point ran into the ocean, and it's beautiful and the sun's setting, and I've had this spiritual moment. So I say to Christen what did you deposit back into the earth? And she goes, I have this I have a sore throat, and it's really annoying being sick on vacation, so I just deposited it back into the earth. and I was like, yeah, cool, yeah. So then finally, I don't know if I asked you, do you want to know what I did? I think I did. I was like, do you want to know what I did? Do you want to know what I deposited back in the earth? And you were like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, my gift of playing football. And then we just had this moment where we were both just crying and just yeah, because you knew how big that moment was, but it was just stark, totally different experiences to our nature. But that was my personal understanding of when I gave up, playing soccer. And I'm really grateful for that trip and for that That moment, yeah.
I love that. And there's a lot of themes of death coming up here. Because we buried ourselves. We were reborn. We've basically asked friends and family to eulogize your career. And I recall that you asked me to write an obituary for you of your career.
That's not true.
What do you think happened?
Well, I love the New Yorker, and I love like the writers are just incredible storytellers, and like they always write these like reporter at large, and like they're my favorite pieces. And I asked Christen because Kristen's an incredible writer, and I feel like in ways that like I could only dream of being able to like kind of tap into and experience my own feelings. I thought it would be really special, like for the person that knows me the best to like write a reporter at large about me, but not about me as being dead.
Well, you're not dead.
Soccer Tobin's dead.
Yeah.
Soccer playing
or
Tobin's
a part of
dead.
you is dead.
Yeah.
And that's what's like, I feel like so much of this is like not being able to remember. It's like this identity.
Yeah.
And when I started writing, the first thing I wrote was, I think it was August 2022 that you played your last game, and that everybody fears death and every athlete fears this death. But actually, what I've seen as the hardest part for you is the realization or the acceptance that that part of you was done. And the process over the last 3 years, maybe longer than 3 years, of you trying to create space for something new and trying to find acceptance. And I think that's very beautiful. It's obviously a tragedy, right? Like I think that the most beautiful things in the world are tragic. And I thought it would be a good thing for us to share when you first found out you were injured, and that moment, because you were presented with this idea that the end had already come in a single moment out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
And then we've spent the last 3 years trying to reckon with the reality that we didn't know had hit us. Okay, so we had a little reset moment. We are still shedding layers here, figuratively and literally. Tobin, will you tell us about the moment that you found out first about your injury?
Yeah, like it was very an innocuous like type of thing that happened to me in training, and I didn't think anything of it, honestly. Like getting injured or feeling like a tweak or a pull or whatever, it's just totally a part of this. And I got a scan because my knee had become swollen, and that was the first time in my career I ever had a swollen knee, which was a little weird and worrisome, but I definitely didn't do anything in my idea of doing something to my knee. And then I, get a phone call from our doctor, and he says, "I'm really sorry to tell you, but you have a career-ending injury." A career-ending injury. I think I was like a little bit in disbelief, like, go read the scans again, like that can't, like, that's not possible,
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that even mean, a career-ending injury? Like, every injury, like, what makes a career-ending injury? Like, you can still walk, So then, obviously, it was then going down a path of, trying to find somebody to tell me that I'd be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or that there was some kind of solution, which there isn't, but hopefully in a couple years / 10 years there will be.
And from that point, like, what was your mindset?
Oh, I was really upset. And I was kind of like in shock, but I didn't believe it. Especially after I got like, a few other opinions that, said, well, like, yeah, this is you. There's no like way to reverse the damage that's been done to your knee, but like there's things that we can try.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I was like, okay, let's do that.
Why do you think it was such a long journey to acceptance from that moment?
I think like giving up, like I've always been able to accomplish whatever I wanted in football. Like, no, it's not linear. Like, it's not like everything was like rainbows and butterflies in my career, but like whatever I set out to do, I did. And I felt like, yeah, there wasn't like, after I moved out of our like childhood home, the family, like, I guess had reached out at some point to like my parents, and they said, you know, like our daughter or someone like is in Tobin's room, and I guess I had like left some things behind in that room, and like under the desk in that room I had written like never give up. And it's like it's like in typical Tobin fashion, like obviously like at some point in my like young career at that point, like I had something had happened that had forced me to go under the desk, right? and write never give up, you know, like, yeah. So like I felt like in a way like not coming back was like me giving up, or giving up the dream, or giving up the gift, or like not being good enough or strong enough to get through it.
Now that is super relatable. And now, maybe not in this moment, but in your better moments, what do you think it was that when you decided to deposit your gift? You said, I thought it was giving up.
Oh yeah, I thought it was giving up. And what happened to me when I deposited my gift was that I realized that it's actually like, well, one, making space for new things to grow inside of me. Because like I recognized that like I couldn't truly move forward in my life and the next things I want to do, like unless I did that. But I didn't want to give it up like and throw it in the trash, right? Like that just seems like wasteful. So there was something that really resonated with me, like, yeah, your gift, like we always talked, like I was just to care for it, you know, like to do the best I could with my gift and then pass it on, you know, and like. Yes.
And you did that.
And I did that, and I know like I'll see myself in like
that
future.
Young player that looks just like you with her giant caps.
It's true. You know, like I'll see myself hopefully in the future generations of, you know, in the way that other players or other things in my career have inspired me, right? Like that's the whole point.
I think it's actually really special being here because very rarely on the show do I hear and see different things. And I feel like I get to learn about you alongside everybody else, which is really special. And I think about that moment as a kid when you said never give up and how that mentality is instilled in you. And how hard it could then be to shift into acceptance. And I actually think that's something a lot of athletes and a lot of humans can accept. I think the way I think of it is, you know, as an athlete, you were trying to do the impossible. You were trying to win games that couldn't be won. You were trying to come back from deficits that can't be overcome. And you achieved, and you said, I did everything in my career I set out to do. And you know, accepting yourself and the seasons of your life is the hardest thing that you're going to have to do. It's harder than those deficits and those games. And it is the beautiful part of this journey that I got to watch while you were having surgeries and in rehab every day and flying around the world to get treatment. I got to see that struggle, but I also got to see the emotional shifting in you. That to me was the symbol of the hardest win you'll ever try to have, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's true. I think a part of the thing, I think why I was like, oh, you know, I want to remember how I was as a player is because I wasn't really prepared, like to stop playing, you know. Even if I think like 2019 World Cup, like I felt like I was getting better, you know, and I never thought when I was playing the 2019 World Cup, that was going to be my last World Cup. Like never in my wildest dreams did I think that. I mean, great way to end.
Great way to go out.
But so I think that's like hard because and look, this is like, I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, like woe's me, like every athlete's story. Like there's, very few athlete stories I think that end in a way. Actually, I think even if they do, it's a complicated ending, I think, because and I think for me personally, I can't speak for other athletes, but my identity was so interwoven into playing football. Like it's the way that I express myself. It's the way that I, created the best relationships in my life. It was almost like a ball allowed me to communicate. Like it allowed me to travel. It allowed me to experience. It allowed me to learn new things, like just this ball at my foot. And it was weird. It was like, there was nothing I couldn't do with it, like, and it was so bizarre at the time. Like, I was such a weird kid. Like, what kid, like an American kid, right? Like, was so obsessed with the sport. Like, I don't know many people that I feel so grateful because, like, at 4 years old, I kicked a soccer ball, and it's like this magic happened where it was like, that's what I knew I was supposed to be doing. Like, and there was nothing that was that. Yeah, there was like nothing that. There was no person, there was no thing. It was just this ball, and it allowed me to be me.
Yeah. And can you talk a little bit about how your relationship with football intertwines with your relationship with God?
Yeah, like it was funny because we were hanging out with Lauren Cheney the other day and she was asking me like, oh, how's your faith? I said, actually it's kind of interesting because so much of my faith also was intertwined with playing soccer because it gave me purpose. There was meaning. I felt like there was meaning to what I was doing. Like, and that's like what I taught, like from day one, I was taught that like this was a gift, and it was crazy because sometimes I felt a little guilty that like I knew what I was supposed to do on this planet from a young age, because I know a lot of people are like, I don't know what I'm good at, or I don't know what I want to do. And like, I remember even like one of my siblings, like I felt guilty in a way that I had a gift, or like that there was something that just drove me to just pursue and pursue and pursue, because I realized that that was such a, that in itself was a gift, something that, almost gave back to me even more than I gave to it. But like, my whole bedroom was like a shrine. And, like I was just, my poor, like my family was probably like, who is this alien child that like just came down, this like soccer alien child? Because it was so much of like, it just didn't make sense, right? Like, it's not like my parents were soccer players or they introduced me. They were just like, we just like let her do what she wants to do, and she wants to play soccer, and we don't know where it came from, it just, so there wasn't any rhyme or reason to it, but like I had this obsession about it, and I would seek out any possible means to do it, to be inspired by it, to get better at it. And it was all self-motivated, which is just, it's weird. And that's why I feel like my faith was like a big part of it, because I felt like my faith was almost like the accompaniment to me playing soccer. It was kind of like, you're not alone in being this weird kid that just wants to play soccer all the time. Like, and obviously, I did feel really alone in it, but obviously now it's not really the case anymore. I think for young American girls to
now it's cool. Tobin Heath once did it. We're talking a lot about like story arcs and memories. And I think like, some ways, what I'm saying already, but in some ways you see your career, your soccer, and then you'll see like the next thing, that thing that fills that part of you that was deposited. And for me, like everything that's magic is the in-between. And like what you loved about it, you see these like moments and memories. And I do want to talk about like, what are those moments? What are those memories? But it was all the in-between pieces.
Yeah.
And like, even you said, like, I was taught that I had a gift, and you were taught that by your mother.
Yeah.
And in that teaching, you felt your mother's love.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's football. That's the magic. Your mom literally did not care if you scored, if you nutmegged.
Yeah.
But she used the sport and your love for it as like a way that she could show you your light and your specialness and love you. And I think you said you felt alone when you were a kid. You were a weirdo, I guess. I didn't know that. I always thought you were cool. But here we have a stack of letters from people that were on this journey with you.
That's
and
cool.
It's a big stack.
Yeah.
Of people remembering that part of you. Do you want to read some? Should I read some? Okay, this is from Abby. You are someone I found to truly love soccer, much more than I ever could. Another thing to spark my envy. I also loved how big you smiled when things worked out, and you placed the ball exactly where you wanted it to be. It often felt like a work of art when the ball was at your feet. I tried really hard to get into your headspace, at least your assumed headspace, to maybe try and connect in a deeper dimension of existence. Because honestly, I think that's where you went when you played. You went somewhere else, but were capable of being completely present. Maybe that's what presence is. I don't know. But where you went, I wanted to go.
I mean, that's amazing.
From one of the best players in the world. Oh, this is from your sister.
Which one?
Katie. Through every high and low, you've led with grace and inspired so many, especially me. I'm endlessly proud of who you are and everything you've accomplished. Being your sister is one of my greatest honors. So sweet. I love family. Okay, I'm going to try to read a couple more and then we got to move. Okay, this is from Casey. It's hard to imagine a field without Tobin. Oh, it's hard to imagine a field without Tobin megging people. And playing with joyous freedom with Allegria. Oh, that probably made you cry.
Allegria.
Allegria.
Yeah, I feel like it's so funny, like, my greatest memories of football are so random. Like, I've talked about on this show, like, the, like, magic touch I had at that, like, one ID camp where I, like, took the ball out of the sky and I was like, that's the touch that, like, got me, like, you know, put me into the national team system, you know, like, one touch. And, yeah, I think there were just, like, I referenced my room being a shrine. And, like, I truly believe that, like, images, words are, like, so powerful. And, like, if you say them over and over again, like, as a kid, like, those dreams, those words, they create worlds and they're powerful. And I set up soccer tennis in my bedroom and I had foosball and I would change out, I would print out pictures of my favorite players and it would be rotating and I would put them on the foosball table, like, of my favorite players. And it's just, like, everything in my room, I would, like, line up all my boots and, like, collect all my boots. And it was just, like, a crazy soccer, like, shrine. And it's just, like, the power of that. And I remember I told Heather O'Reilly, because she was 4 years older than me, but she, like, grew up in the area and played for the same club team I played for, that. And it's, like, the power of, like, role models, right? People that, like, you know, that have done the thing that you want to do. And, you know, she was on the national team in high school and there was this big article, like, in the local newspaper. And, like, I remember I, like, printed it, or, like, I got the article and I, like, you know, took out my, like, glue and put it on, like, paper and then put it in my closet. And it's like every time I walked into my closet, it was, like, Heather O'Reilly, like, making the national team, you know, and then, like, I make the national team. And it's, like, these little, like, memories. And I remember actually my gym teacher, she had asked me, I was graduating and it was like 2006. And she had asked me, she goes, like, what do you want to do? Like, and I told her I want to make the Olympic team in 2008. And at the time, like, I wasn't even on the senior team. Like, it was, and 2 years seems like, wow, you better really take a few, like, big jumps here, you know? And, like, I remember that moment. Just, like, I remember, like, I could place you back in that gym when I said, like, my dream out loud to someone, you know, and, like, the power of that. And then, like, I remember exactly where I was, like, sat. at UNC when Anson told me like, oh, we want to give you like a full scholarship to UNC. And like that was unheard of like in the program. Like you had to already be on the senior team to get a full scholarship. And like I wasn't yet on the senior team. And it was the first time I think in my career like that I was shocked. And it's like little moments like that. And I remember, this is like so silly, but I remember in my senior year of high school, like I gave up playing on my high school team because I wanted to make the U20 national team. And I realized I had to like take a step up in my training. Like I couldn't train with like my best friends and teammates. And honestly, everybody was really upset about it. But I was like, no, for my development, like I have to go and train with boys. So I went and trained with boys, and simultaneously I had to do fitness that UNC wanted me to do like before I came into school. So you know how big fitness is at UNC, or was at the time. So there was like this one fitness that everyone kind of knows, which are like 120s. And I remember being up at PDA, which PDA is always windy. And I remember Mr. A and I, it was just the two of us, and he had the stopwatch, and I would line up and he would say go, and I would run. And then, and the thing that kept me motivated was like when I was running, where I was running, there was an American flag, a pole. And I just remember being like, I'm running to make the US team, you know, like, and it's just like so weird. Like I can put myself like exactly there where I was like suffering for no reason. It was just me and Mr. A, like, and being like running towards this American flag, being like, I believe, you know, and then like, I think back to then how meaningful it was to represent my country. And like, you know this, but whenever, you know, I'd be in the starting lineup and the national anthem like came on, like I'd always have my hand on my heart. And like, I would do this thing where like, I would try to hear my heartbeat and slow my heartbeat like as much as possible. And it was like such a bizarre thing that I did. I don't even know like why I did it, but it was like this moment of like kind of like where I know it was like a big, I guess, moment where I was just trying to be like so present in my own body to like feel like being there. And I remember my first world championship where I was so young and I wasn't playing that much. And I was like that at the time, there was only 3 subs. So if you got it, like, if you were one of the subs, like, this is awesome, you know, like nowadays 5 subs, it's like everyone plays. But like 3 subs. And I always remembered it was like around the 75th minute. And it was like, you knew kind of that you were going to go in. And I remember we played Canada at the Olympics, and you know, I went in 70, and I was like, oh, and I was like this kid that just like wanted to play football, like had no idea like what even it meant. And I literally, like they scored on us, and it was tied. So then we had to go into overtime. And I just remember thinking, and I still remember exactly this feeling, being like, yes, I get to play more football. I wasn't even thinking like, oh no, like we could possibly lose. You know, I just was like, oh, like I get to play more football. And it's like little things like that. And like playing in the garage parks, like I always wanted to just play more football. Like practice was never enough. And I somehow always found people that would play with me. But like at Carolina, like we used to always just go play in the car park like after practice. And then on the national team, I brought it to the national team where like after national team practice, we would go and practice more. We would find abandoned car parks and we would just play soccer in them. And it takes me back to like my PDA days where like my favorite place was actually in the gym there. It was this dingy gym, and when it was cold and it was snowing out, we would go into this gym, and it was like there was dust everywhere, and we used fold-up chairs as goals, and we would spend like the first hour just like pinging the ball off the wall, just like all touch, like all different variations like of technique, and then we would play in the gym. And it's just like those moments are the moments that I think about when I think about my career. Like I don't really, like, if you were to list Tobin's like starting 11 of career or whatever, it's not It's not like, oh, winning 2015 World Cup, winning 2019. It's literally these like really small moments that like put me back to just Tobin playing soccer. It's not wrapped up in like, oh, this, like where I think, you know, like social media or like women's sports being this like huge popular thing. It wasn't like that when we started playing, you know? And then like the last thing I'll say is one of the coolest things was scoring a goal in the World Cup final. And it's not because I scored a goal in the World Cup final. It's because, you know, when you're a kid and you're just playing with your friends and every time like you'll like make a move and you'll score and you say to yourself like, oh, that's a World Cup final. Like you like the whole thing is about scoring a goal in the World Cup final. You know? So like doing that, it was just like that is just playing, right? Because like that's what you say over and over again, and then to do it. So I guess like the power of like creating worlds and playing and enjoying it. I don't know if you would ever know like me in my deepest way without football, you know? And I think that's the part of like the letting go or the moving on that is the toughest, is this understanding that like that piece of me is gone and I'm not going to get it back. And I don't know who I am without being able to express myself with a football. And that part is like a little bit scary because I think we're so tuned to kind of like fill our gaps and with something. And like, I think acceptance is like, no, like this gap's not getting filled, you know, like no amount of like 100-mile bike rides that exhaust you is really going to fill this gap, you know, and to feel like, okay, moving on.
What keeps coming to mind for me is that like in the process of like you sharing your story with the world, there's this desire from everyone to like wrap it up, to like say, and now look at all these amazing things and that Tobin's doing, and like she's gonna be fulfilled, and like her legacy lives on. And it's like all of those things are true. You do amazing things and your legacy lives on. There are children and dogs named Tobin. But for me, like this is also tricky, right? Like we are this whole show is you sharing this with everyone else. So like we can wrap it up for them, right?
Yeah.
But I think the more beautiful thing to do is to let it be okay with not being okay, and for you to be sad that you don't get to play soccer anymore, and for people to see you in the middle of something, because there is something growing, there is something shifting, and I am relentlessly optimistic, and I think it's going to be better than anything that came before it, right? But the truth is that I think that it would be a dishonor to your love for the game for this moment to be anything other than what it is, which is a goodbye.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say?
I probably just want to say like thank you for to my family. Yeah. And now I just get to watch you play soccer.
Oh, now everyone knows why I can't retire. She said she couldn't relate to me if I didn't play soccer.
Well, I think one of the greatest gifts the football gave me was you. And like the coolest part about our relationship was like I had an obsession for the game and for my craft that was like very personal, and I never really shared with anyone. You know, everyone used to always refer to me like, oh, she's such a talent. We've talked about this. Oh, she's so talented. She's so gifted. But like behind closed doors, like I worked and I know I did more than everyone else. And, you know, I worked over and over again. And then I showed up like this cool kid that just like magically could do all this stuff. And everybody would be like, oh, so talented, so gifted. But honestly, it's just, as you know, like a lot of time on the pitch with the ball. And like for you, one of my favorite things was when we actually started training together in off season. And like you had just as much of like an obsession with your own craft. And I remember wanting so desperately to like learn. And I was just kind of in awe of the way that you approach the game and your seriousness and your dedication and your specificity to the things that you were doing that like totally matched my like kind of maniacal way of looking at football, but like you had your own flavor of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that was just so fun. Like of all the things that I miss is like off seasons with Christen, just getting better. And like towards the end of my career, like I was getting better, like so much better because of you. And like you sharing your gift with me. Like I always stole things from players. Like for all young players, like the players that are around you that are better than you, just learn from them. That's all I did is I watched them and I tried to copy them. And then I tried to be better at them at their own thing. And like that was such a fun time. I think I miss the off seasons, you know,
Spaces in between.
Yeah. So
you miss us getting in horrific fights and screaming at each other.
Most of the time we were so serious about our football that it did end up in a fight. The only time we fight.
Yeah. On the field, yeah.
Is when we're saying, should the touch be a little bit this way or that way?
And we did not agree. And I saw the imaginary defender here and you saw them there.
Yeah. But yeah, so thanks for torturing me.
Thanks for torturing me.
Oh.
How you doing over there? How do you want to end?
I don't know. I think it just ends.
When you're not ready. When you don't see it coming.